My name is Emily, and I'm 29 years old. For most people, birthdays are a reminder that they're loved. For me, birthdays became a countdown to disappointment. Long before this year's celebration was canceled, I had learned not to get too excited whenever my parents promised. This time will be different. Growing up, I was always the dependable daughter. If my younger sister, Rachel, forgot her homework, everyone rushed to help her. If I won an academic award, my parents congratulated me quickly before turning their attention back to whatever problem Rachel was having that week. It wasn't that they hated me. They simply believed I could handle things on my own. Whenever I looked hurt, Mom would smile gently and say, "You're the strong one, Emily." Dad always added, "Your sister needs us more right now." Those words followed me through childhood, high school, college, and even adulthood. Every important milestone somehow became secondary to Rachel's latest emergency. My college graduation dinner ended early because Rachel argued with her boyfriend. One Christmas morning was delayed for hours because Rachel refused to leave her room. Even family vacations revolved around where Rachel wanted to go and what made Rachel happy. I kept convincing myself that next time would finally be my turn. This birthday felt different. I had requested a full week off from work months in advance. My closest friends had already confirmed they would come. I had reserved my favorite restaurant, bought a simple blue dress I loved, and even ordered the chocolate raspberry cake my mom used to bake when I was little. When my parents promised, "This year is all about you," I believed them. Looking back now, I realized that wasn't hope. It was simply the last time I allowed myself to expect the family I had spent my entire life waiting for. 4 days before my birthday, my phone rang while I was finishing a report at work. The screen said Mom. I stared at it for a second before answering, because something inside me already knew what I was about to hear. "Hi, sweetheart," she said softly. "Can you talk?" The apology in her voice came before the words. "We're going to have to cancel your birthday dinner." I closed my eyes. What happened? It's Rachel. She's having a really difficult time. She needs us right now. Of course she did. There was always something. A breakup. A disagreement at work. A financial mistake. Somehow every crisis arrived just before something important in my life. "I understand," I replied quietly. Mom sounded relieved. "I knew you would. You've always been so understanding." A minute later, Dad's text appeared. "You're the strong one. We'll celebrate another day. Love you." Another day. The same promise I'd heard for years. I set my phone down and sat in complete silence. Around my apartment were little reminders of the celebration I'd planned. A gift bag waiting by the door for a friend. Balloons still sealed inside their package. The reservation confirmation on my kitchen counter. The blue dress hanging neatly in my bedroom. None of it mattered anymore. For the first time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't even feel disappointed. I felt finished. That evening, while cleaning my inbox, I noticed an email I'd ignored for nearly 3 weeks. It was the out-of-state promotion my manager had offered me. Better salary. Better opportunities. A fresh start in another city. I had delayed my answer because I didn't want to leave my family behind. Now I realized something painful. I was the only one refusing to leave. I accepted the offer, booked a one-way flight, and quietly closed my laptop. If they could keep choosing Rachel, it was finally time to choose myself. And my birthday arrived without a single knock on my door. A few friends took me to dinner after work. They laughed, brought flowers, and somehow made the evening feel warmer than I expected. For the first time, I celebrated with people who actually wanted to be there, not people who felt obligated. Before going home, I made one silent promise to myself. Tomorrow, everything changes. The next morning, I finished packing the last box into my car. Before locking my apartment for the final time, I placed one handwritten letter inside an envelope addressed to my parents. It wasn't angry. It wasn't cruel. It simply told the truth. I wrote that I loved them, that I wasn't leaving because of one canceled birthday, and that this decision had been building for years. I thanked them for everything they had done for me, but I could no longer keep waiting for a place in a family where I was always expected to understand while everyone else was expected to be understood. By sunset, I was in another state. The first few months were lonely. I missed familiar streets, old routines, and even the hope that someday my parents would finally choose me. But slowly, life began to feel lighter. I threw myself into my new job and discovered I was capable of far more than I had believed. I met coworkers who became genuine friends. I explored places I'd never seen before, traveled on weekends, and eventually saved enough to buy a small townhouse that was completely my own. Every birthday after that became a quiet celebration of the life I had built instead of the one I had kept chasing. My parents still sent birthday texts every year. "Happy birthday. We love you." I always replied politely, "Thank you. I hope you're both doing well." Nothing more. Distance didn't erase the hurt, but for the first time in my life, it gave me the space to heal and to finally believe that my happiness didn't depend on anyone choosing me except myself. 10 years passed faster than I ever imagined. By then, I had built a life that finally felt like mine. I loved my work, surrounded myself with people who cared about me, and no longer waited for my phone to ring on birthdays. Then one quiet Tuesday evening, it did. Mom's name appeared on my screen. I almost ignored it. Instead, I answered. Her voice was trembling. "Emily, please don't hang up." Before I could respond, she started crying. Dad took the phone a moment later. He sounded older, tired in a way I'd never heard before. "We owe you an apology," he said. "A real one." Over the next few minutes, they told me Rachel had made another series of reckless decisions that left them overwhelmed emotionally and financially. For years, they had rushed from one crisis to the next, believing they were helping her. Instead, they had only enabled a pattern that never truly changed. Then Dad said something I had waited my entire childhood to hear. "We kept asking you to sacrifice because we knew you would. We called it strength, but it wasn't fair. While we were busy saving one daughter, we slowly lost the other." The room fell silent. For the first time in my life, they weren't asking me to understand. They were asking if, someday, I could forgive them. A month later, I flew back to my hometown for the first time in nearly a decade. Walking through my parents' front door felt strangely familiar, yet completely different. Mom hugged me carefully, as if she were afraid I might disappear again. Dad's eyes filled with tears before he managed to say a single word. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. We sat around the same dining table where so many celebrations had once revolved around someone else. No one made excuses. No one blamed Rachel. For the first time, my parents accepted responsibility for the choices they had made. Mom admitted they had mistaken my independence for proof that I needed less love. Dad confessed they had expected me to keep sacrificing because I never complained. I listened quietly before speaking. "I forgive you," I said. But forgiveness doesn't erase 10 years. Trust isn't rebuilt in one conversation. They both nodded. They finally understood. We spent the afternoon sharing memories, laughing through tears, and talking honestly instead of pretending everything was perfect. There was no magical ending, no instant repair of everything we had lost. As I drove home the next morning, I realized something unexpected. The birthday they canceled had become the greatest gift I ever received, because it was the moment I finally chose myself. And sometimes, choosing yourself isn't the end of a family story. It's where healing finally begins.